Knockout legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. So today I'm going to talk about Anthony Joshua and basically a few comments that certain people have made. Now, obviously Simon Jordan's mentioned something about Joshua, and Don Charles has as well. So I'm going to play the clips and then I'm going to get back into it. So with no further ado.
Little go, but ultimately Helenius got knocked out without landing a glove on him. Volin was nowhere near him, and Ngannou was done with what should have been done with by Tyson Fury. So I think that if Daniel detonates on him, I've said it the other day, and the snake oil salesman didn't like it, that he'll get PTSD because he'll take him back to a space where the question is that Anthony Joshua hasn't wanted to go deep in the trenches. There's a distinct possibility that Daniel Dubois is going to drag him in there, and if he does, it's going to be a fascinating fight because he's got the power. We were writing about this kid, or Jeff Powell, and Frank will remember this, 3 or 4 years ago before the Joyce fight, as forget Joshua, forget Tyson Fury, this kid, Dynamite Daniel Dubois, is the one to watch.
Yeah. Trainer was on with us just the other day, and he spoke about Joshua's DNA. This is what he said. Have a listen.
I know this kid's DNA, yeah? It's a long history. I'm not going to go into it. You know what I'm like, Jim. You've had me in the studio very numerous occasions. I'm pretty cagey. Yeah. I'm an old school guy. I'm a wise old fox, should I say. Doesn't matter which version turns up. Me as a coach, I have his DNA, boxing DNA. And Daniel as a fighter is all wrong for him. All wrong for him. He knows that. His team knows that.
Dubois, your man, Frank. Is Don Charles right about that?
Well, I think so, and we wouldn't have made the fight otherwise. I genuinely feel that Daniel can win this fight, and I think he can win it. I think it'll be down to the battle of the jabs, and a lot of people are saying, I don't mean so much in the trade, more outside the trade. A lot of people obviously make AJ favourite, but what they're also saying is that AJ's a big puncher and so forth, and I hope he comes out and comes to fight, because if he comes out and lets those shots go, I know that leaves him exposed. And if Daniel clips him, he will knock him out. I think Daniel's the bigger puncher, but,
So from the first clip, we're going to look at Simon Jordan. Now, what he says is Joshua is going to get PTSD. And I think he's talking about basically the Klitschko fight, because that was one of the fights where Joshua got taken into deep waters, but he came through, and basically he came through adversity, got up off the canvas and knocked Klitschko out. And that was after he knocked Klitschko down, and then he got knocked down, and then obviously he knocked Klitschko out. That was a brilliant fight, that, to be fair. But that was kind of like the last time we saw that kind of rugged, go for it kind of Joshua, because then obviously we had the Andy Ruiz affair, and then obviously he chose to fight Andy Ruiz short notice because Jarrell Miller basically popped dirty and failed the test, and basically he shit the bed, and when he shit the bed, Andy Ruiz had to step in. So, and obviously Joshua probably just thought, it'll be easy night's work, I'll take this, fat Mexican out and just deal with him. But obviously, he didn't do his homework. Now, I've watched Andy Ruiz before, and I watched him when he fought Joseph Parker. I think he won the Joseph Parker fight. Andy Ruiz, when he's on point and he is motivated, he's no slouch, regardless of what he looks like. He's a dangerous fighter, especially if you fight him in the pocket, if you're a taller, bigger guy as well. So he is the giant slayer. He knows how to fight taller, bigger than opponents, especially if they're in the pocket. But anyway, after that loss, Joshua, you could see he was a bit gun shy, lost a bit of his confidence, but did the right thing, trimmed down, basically boxed and won the fight. Now, it would be interesting to watch a rematch if there was a third fight, because obviously we'd see what Joshua would do, but I still think Joshua would deal with him, because regardless of him being wary, all he has to do is just use his skills, and I think he'd probably knock Ruiz out, because Ruiz has been through quite a few tough fights of late and he's been dropped a few times and he's got more wear and tear on him. But it would still be an interesting fight to watch. Anyway, back to what Simon Jordan was saying with the PTSD. Do I think Daniel Dubois has that puncher's ability to do that? Yeah, he does, but this is only if Joshua is reckless and doesn't respect his opponent, in the sense that if he just stands and trades. Now, Joshua's not going to do that. We've seen in the Ngannou fight, he wasn't going to do that. We've seen in the Helenius fight, he wasn't going to do that. And obviously, we saw in the Franklin fight, he wasn't going to do that. Now, a lot of people were saying Joshua looked rubbish in the Franklin fight. I think people need to give Jermaine Franklin his credit, because obviously they didn't realise actually how good he was. Obviously, the Dillian White fight showed you how good Jermaine Franklin was. He actually come to fight and he could fight, you know, but maybe the fact that obviously he is not, how can I put it, what's the best way of saying, a consummate professional, in the fact that he can train and devote himself to his training, his sleep, his rest, his recovery, you know, his stamina work, his conditioning, his boxing, his technicality, you know, all that what boxers have the chance to do once they reach a certain level when they're professional. That maybe was what let him down, in a sense, because I think he may have got a decent enough camp, but he's not had a lot of them where he's consistently basically living the life and can do that as a professional boxer. So that may be what, like, obviously made him a little bit short in the Dillian White fight. And then obviously going into the Joshua fight, from the back of the Dillian White fight, you know, he was probably going to lose against Joshua anyway, regardless as if Joshua didn't perform well. I think people just don't want to give Franklin the credit that he deserves, in the fact that he was a lot better than people actually give him credit for. So it is what it is. But anyway, I've said this before, if they fight, I think Joshua will beat Dubois. Now, it's a case of when he wants to take Dubois out. Now, I don't think it's going to be straight away, but I reckon within 5 rounds, maybe 6, Dubois is going to go sleep, because he's going to try go looking for Joshua and try and go for the knockout. He may actually even catch him with a good shot. You know, he may actually even hurt Joshua, or even probably stun him. But this version of Joshua with Ben Davison, totally different fighter. I would even say arguably even maybe better than the original version what we had, because he was just a big strong guy and he'd go in there and use his attributes. Not just that, he did have a lot of defensive ability and he threw a lot of combinations, so he relied on a lot of his athleticism, some technical ability, and probably just raw strength and aggression, which got him through. But obviously we saw in the Klitschko fight that wasn't enough. He had to use a bit of courage and a bit of heart to get through that. So that saw him through. And obviously Klitschko may have been in too many fights at that point and maybe the age was showing, but it still was a good fight, that, with Klitschko, really good fight. And Klitschko came to fight and Joshua came to fight, so, you know. But anyway, with Simon Jordan saying what he's saying, I think it's just a bit of devil's advocate. He likes to play devil's advocate. And I think a lot of people like to throw shade on Joshua, because if they do, it gets people to the channel, it gets, you know, views and clicks. So if you say something controversial, it works, doesn't it? And, you know, negativity sells. That's the press mark as well, you know. And sometimes I think a little bit, sometimes people are jealous of certain people, especially when they're in the limelight. Anyway, but with Don Charles saying as well in the next clip about his DNA, yeah, arguably he does know what type of fighter he is. He probably knows what's the right strategy to go in against Joshua, and what's the right fundamental thing to do. But the thing is Daniel has improved over the last 2 fights. Is that enough to be fighting somebody of the caliber that Joshua is? And I say no, because he still needs more experience to build himself. Remember, he's had the Klitschko fight, he fell short. I mean, he had the Usyk fight and he fell short in that. You know, he had the Joyce fight and he fell short in that, and he's not tried to rectify the Joyce fight. So, and he probably could. So, within that saying, is he at that level to be challenging Joshua? Well, he's improved, so, and now he's a world champion and he's won the mandatory spot and he's got the belt. So, in the paper terms, on paper, yeah, but experience-wise, I'd say no. Remember, Joshua's been through a lot of tough opponents to get to where he's at now, regardless of the losses and regardless of what people think of him. Because remember, the people that he's lost to, it's only been Usyk, and Usyk's beat Fury. So what does that say about the losses what Joshua's had? And then obviously the Ruiz loss. Nobody else has fought Ruiz that Joshua's lost to. So what else really can we say about his resume? His resume is the best in the division. It's better than Usyk's anyway, because Usyk's resume is not that deep. And fair enough, Usyk's beat Fury, he's beat Joshua, and he's beat whoever else he's beaten, Derek, you know. But in the terms of a depth of a heavyweight and having a proper heavyweight resume, he's not done that much to actually prove if he is that guy. Now he's that guy because he's had the opportunities and he's got ahead of the rest of the pack to get there. And I'm not saying that he's rubbish, but obviously he's done that on merit, and he's done that based off where he's elevated himself to get there to do that. So that is that in itself, but that doesn't mean you're the best. You still have to show a body of work where you're fighting numerous people in that division to prove that you are that guy. Do you know what I mean? It's similar to what people used to say about Terence, because he'd not fought everyone in the welterweight division. Do you know what I mean? Because he'd come up from the other divisions. And I kind of understand that, but obviously once he made light work of Errol Spence, you know, it kind of proved what we already knew about Terence. So barring that though, me personally, I don't think Usyk's going to stay in the heavyweight division after this Fury fight, because I think wear and tear wise and slowing down and age, he's probably going to want to either step back down to cruiserweight or maybe even retire. And I don't blame him if he does, because, you know, at this point, what more is there to do? And yeah, we could probably fight a few more other fighters, but he probably feels that he's done what he needs to do. He's cleaned up the heavyweight division after he's already cleaned up the cruiserweight, so he's made his point. So there is nothing really more to do. You know what I mean? But anyway, what are your thoughts on what Don Charles has said and what Simon Jordan said? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe. And that is another one from the one and only Knockout Legends. Peace.